Okay, so let's just dive right in. We've all been there, right? A critical system is down, the pressure is on, and literally everyone is looking at you for the answer. Well, today, we're going to turn that chaos into clarity. We're breaking down a framework for expert-level troubleshooting that comes straight from the folks who live and breathe this stuff every day.
You know that feeling in the pit of your stomach? Your dashboard is just a sea of red. The alarms are screaming, services are dropping like flies, and you can practically hear the money flying out the window. It is pure chaos. And the temptation? It's to just start poking around, clicking things, hoping you get lucky. But here's the thing, experts, they don't do luck.
And that, right there, is your true mission. This isn't just about slapping a Band-Aid on it to stop the bleeding. It's about really understanding the problem. The whole point is to take this messy, confusing pile of symptoms and boil it down to one single, clean, verifiable root cause. That's the real difference between a temporary fix and an actual solution.
So how do we do that? How do we find our way through this mess? Well, you need a map. See, experts don't just have more knowledge floating around in their heads. They have a better mental model, a system, for navigating all this complexity. It's a repeatable process that guides them all the way from that first scary alarm to the final fix.
The very first step, before you touch a single keyboard, is to just stop and classify the problem. Ask yourself, what kind of problem am I looking at? As you can see, most issues fall into one of 5 main buckets. Is it a deployment or an upgrade that went sideways? Is it a cluster problem? Maybe something with licensing? Or is it one of the classics, compute, storage, or network? Could even be your automation tools. Just by sorting the problem into one of these buckets, you've already made your world a whole lot smaller.
Now here's what's so cool about this. No matter which bucket the problem lands in, the core troubleshooting flow is almost always the same. It's a super simple 3-step process. First, describe the symptom, and I mean get really specific. Not just the portal is down, but user Jane Doe can't access the billing portal after the 10 a.m. update. See the difference? Second, decide which plane the problem is living on. And third, and this is the big one, find the very first thing in the chain that actually broke.
That second step, deciding the plane, is absolutely critical. Just think of it like this. Is the problem with the system's brain or its body? The control plane, that's the brain. It's all about configuration, logging in, managing inventory, API tasks. The data plane is the body. It's the actual work. It's the VM traffic, the vMotion, when a virtual machine moves from one physical server to another, and all the storage I/O. A failed login, that's a control plane issue. Slow application, that's a data plane issue. Knowing which one you're dealing with stops you from chasing ghosts in the completely wrong part of the system.
So this brings us to the most important part of the expert mindset. We have to find that first domino. Modern systems are so tangled up together that one tiny failure can set off this massive, cascading wave of errors that look totally unrelated. Finding that first domino is everything.
And this is a perfect picture of that chain reaction. It's like a digital wildfire. Just imagine your DNS server has a little hiccup. That's the first domino. Suddenly, services can't find each other by name. Then secure connections that rely on those names, they start to break. When that trust fails, all the services that depend on each other start to fall apart. And before you know it, your dashboard is a wall of red with dozens of errors. But they all trace back to that one single initial failure. The expert's job is to ignore all that noise and follow the breadcrumbs back to the source.
So, to find that source, you need evidence. No guessing allowed. And you've got to know where to look for it. Your vCenter is going to shout about alarms. The ESX host itself will have clues about its network connectivity. Tools like Area Logs are amazing for this, because they pull everything together and let you correlate events across the whole system. And hey, if an automated workflow failed, your automation engine, like ARIA Orchestrator, will literally tell you the exact step where it gave up.
Okay, theory's great, but let's see how this framework helps us in the real world. Let's apply this thinking to a few classic traps that honestly can send you down a rabbit hole for hours if you're not careful. Here we go, a perfect example. A user calls you up. They say a button is grayed out, or a feature is just gone. It's so vague, right? It's a messy symptom. So what's your gut reaction? What is the very first thing you're going to check?
Well, the framework tells us to be systematic, not random. That one symptom, grayed out, could be one of 3 totally different problems that just happen to look the same. This table gives us a clear path. First question, is it only affecting one user? If so, you're probably looking at their permissions. That's a role-based access control thing. But what if it's affecting all users, and the error says something like, not entitled? Ah, that smells like a licensing problem. And then there's the weird one. What if the views are inconsistent, or you're seeing timeouts? That's pointing you to something more fundamental, like connectivity, name resolution, or even time sync issues. See? By asking these questions, you pinpoint the cause instead of just guessing.
And please, please burn this into your brain. This is a lesson that every single sysadmin has learned the hard way. I can ping it is not proof of anything. Seriously, all a ping tells you is that a tiny little packet can get from point A to point B. It proves almost nothing about whether the actual service is healthy. All your different kinds of traffic, management, vMotion, storage, they all use different network paths and ports, and any one of them can be broken, even when a ping works just fine. Never forget that.
Here's another pro tip for avoiding a super common trap: chasing the wrong layer of the stack. If your error message says anything about trust or handshake or cannot establish secure connection, stop. Don't immediately start blaming the firewall. That language is a massive clue. It's screaming at you to check the fundamentals: DNS, network time, and certificates. On the other hand, if you see timeout or cannot reach, then it's time to start digging into the network path. Let the symptom be your guide.
So as we start to wrap this up, I hope the biggest takeaway is that this isn't about some magic command or a secret tool. It's all about adopting a disciplined mindset. This isn't just about fixing the problem you have today. It's about becoming a better engineer for every problem you're going to face down the road.
All right, so let's lock this methodology in. 1. Classify the problem. Put it in a bucket. 2. Obsess over finding that first failing hop, that one true root cause. 3. Always, and I mean always, verify the fundamentals first: your name resolution, your time, your basic connectivity. And only after you've done all that do you move on to the specific checks for whatever system is broken. It's a simple but incredibly powerful loop. And look, if you remember nothing else from our chat today, remember this: the vast majority of those complex, mysterious, cascading failures, they almost always boil down to a problem with one of these 3 things: DNS for name resolution, NTP for time synchronization, and certificates for trust. Master these fundamentals, and I promise you, you will prevent and solve an incredible number of problems.
So I'm going to leave you with this question. The next time the alarms start blaring and everything turns red, what's the very first question you're going to ask yourself? It shouldn't be what's broken. It should be, how do I classify this? That right there, that is your first step from chaos to clarity. And that's how you truly master the chaos.